The sky above Earth was black, not from nightfall but from the surface no longer seeing stars. Dust, ash, and old war clouds still hung in the upper atmosphere, even after 300 years. Beneath the ground, deep in the crust of the ruined planet, humans lived in secret. The colony was called Nova Haven. It stretched through old mining tunnels, reinforced with steel, glowing dimly with blue lights. The people inside rarely saw the surface. They had never felt the sun on their skin or looked up at the real stars. They survived on memories, old recordings, and hope passed down from generation to generation. Captain Jaron Miles stood in the command chamber of the colony's defense base. He was tall, strong, and quiet. His eyes were always calm but sharp. He had grown up in Nova Haven, trained as a soldier, became a leader when no one else dared. At 36 he carried the weight of Earth on his back, and he didn't complain. The walls around him buzzed with low energy. Screens showed data from old satellites, cameras, and long-range scanners. One screen blinked red. "Sir," said a voice from behind. It was Lieutenant Aaron Dale, Jaron's second-in-command. "We picked up something," Aaron said, stepping forward. "A signal." Jaron looked at the screen. A faint pulse, a slow rhythmic echo across space. "Where from?" he asked. "Near Saturn's orbit. It came from one of our old relay drones." Jaron narrowed his eyes. "Those drones were silent for decades." Aaron nodded. "We think it activated on its own, maybe triggered by movement." Jaron leaned in. Who else would be out there? Silence. Everyone in the room knew the answer but didn't want to say it. The Archon Dominion. A galactic empire. Cold, cruel, and merciless. They ruled half the galaxy. Earth was thought to be dead, gone, and forgotten. That's how Nova Haven survived, by staying hidden. If the Dominion found them, they would bring war. And Earth was not ready. "Shut it down," Jaron ordered. "Wipe the relay, clean the trace." "It's too late," Aaron said. "If they saw the signal, they'll come." Jaron stood still, his jaw clenched. "Alert the council," he said. "Tell them it's time." He turned and walked to the lift. The metal doors hissed open. He stepped inside, alone. As it descended deeper into the colony, Jaron closed his eyes for a moment. He remembered his father's voice when he was a boy. "One day they'll come back. And when they do, someone will have to stand between them and us." That day had come. Far from Earth, past stars and silent moons, the Archon Dominion ruled with an iron grip. Their ships floated like shadows, sleek, black, and full of firepower. Wherever they went, fear followed. On the bridge of the warship Oblivion, the air was cold. Metal walls hummed with energy. Crew members stood at attention, their eyes fixed on screens showing endless streams of data. At the center stood Lord Commander Zal Dorn. He was tall, with gray skin and glowing blue eyes. His armor was smooth, silver and black, lined with sharp symbols of the Dominion. He did not speak unless it was necessary. When he did, everyone listened. A young officer stepped forward, holding a data slate. "My lord," she said, "we've detected a signal." Sal turned slowly. "From where?" "Outer Rim, Sol system, old coordinates of Earth." That word, Earth, echoed through the room. Few had heard it spoken. Fewer believed it still existed. Sal took the slate and stared at the signal. "A drone activated," the officer continued. "Its pattern matches ancient Earth tech. Could be random. A glitch." Sal's eyes narrowed. "Or bait." He handed back the slate. "Send a scout unit. Small, fast, quiet." "Yes, my lord." The officer bowed and left. Sal walked to the wide viewing window. The stars stretched out before him, cold and endless. Somewhere out there a forgotten world had stirred. He didn't believe in ghosts. If Earth had somehow survived, he would crush it. A living Earth meant rebellion, resistance, and history he had erased. Behind him a senior commander approached. "You believe the signal is real?" Sal didn't look away from the stars. "I believe," he said slowly, "that we kill it before it becomes something worth believing in." Back on Earth, In the chambers of Nova Haven's council, tension filled the air. 12 leaders sat in a circle. Most were old, cautious, tired of fear. At the center stood Captain Jaren Miles, hands behind his back, shoulders straight. "I'm not asking for a vote," Jaren said. "I'm giving you a warning. The Dominion may have seen our signal." "May," said Councilman Oren, frowning. "We've survived for 3 centuries by staying quiet, hidden. And now you bring us talk of war." Jaren nodded. "Because we may not stay hidden much longer. We have no army," another counselor said. "No allies, no backup. If they come, they'll wipe us out." "We have the Leviathan," Jaren said calmly. A long silence followed. The name shook the room. "That ship is a myth," someone whispered. "It's real," Jaren said. "And it's ready. Not perfect, but enough to make them think twice." Some counselors shifted nervously. Others stared in disbelief. "We can't fight the Dominion," Oren said. Jaren met his eyes. "If we don't prepare, we won't get the chance to try." He turned and walked out, leaving the chamber cold and silent. In the hallway, Lieutenant Oren Dale waited. "Well?" Oren asked. "They won't help," Jaren said. "So what now?" Jaren looked up, past layers of metal and rock, toward the sky no one could see. "Now," he said, "we wake the beast." The tunnels beneath Nova Haven ran deep, deeper than most people knew, past old mining shafts and forgotten vaults. There was a sealed corridor that hadn't been opened in decades. Captain Jaren Miles walked ahead, his boots echoing against the steel floor. Behind him, Lieutenant Oren Dale carried a glowing tablet, scanning for energy levels. "Still stable," Oren said. "Power readings are faint but alive." Jaren nodded. "It has to be." They stopped in front of a massive steel door, rusted sealed shut, with thick cables and warning signs across it. On the wall beside it, a single word was burned into the metal: Leviathan. Jaren placed his palm on the door panel. It scanned his print, then his eyes. Lights flickered. After a long pause, the door hissed. Steam poured out. The metal creaked as it began to slide open. Cold, silent, untouched. Then lights slowly flickered on, one row at a time, revealing the giant form hidden inside, the Leviathan. It was Earth's last warship, built before the fall, during the final days of the old world. Meant to defend the planet. It had never launched. Too dangerous. Too powerful. Instead, it was buried, protected in case of emergency. The ship was massive, taking up the entire cavern. Sharp angles, heavy armor. Its hull was marked with old Earth symbols and burn scars from testing. Oren stepped forward, eyes wide. "It's real." Jaren walked slowly around the base of the ship, his voice low. "My father told me about it. Said it was humanity's last hope if we ever rose again." "Does it still work?" Oren asked. "We'll find out." In the control room above the hangar, engineers and tech teams began arriving. Some were nervous, others excited. Most had only heard rumors. Jaren stood before them. "I won't lie," he said. "This ship is old, unfinished, dangerous, but it may be our only chance to stand against the Dominion. We bring it online, we fight, we stay silent, we die." No one spoke. Then Oren stepped forward. "What do you need us to do, sir?" Jaren smiled slightly. "Wake the beast." Hours turned into days. Crews worked non-stop, cleaning the engines, rebuilding control systems, restarting power cores. Everything was slow and risky. The Leviathan systems were massive and ancient, running on tech no one fully understood. In the engine room, sparks flew as Oren and 2 others struggled to reconnect energy lines. "This thing was built like a tank," Oren said, wiping sweat from his face, "and it drinks power like one too." In the weapons bay, engineers checked the rail cannons and missile pods. Some systems worked, others were frozen, damaged, or completely burned out. Still, the ship slowly came alive. Lights glowed brighter, screens lit up, doors unlocked, the engine core hummed. In the command bridge, Jaren stood before the main console. Dust covered the controls, but the screen blinked faintly. He reached forward and pressed the activation key. The ship responded with a deep rumbling sound like something old waking from a long sleep. The console lit up with a single message, "Primary systems online." Jaren took a breath. They had done it. The Leviathan was awake. The stars above Earth were no longer silent. In orbit, just beyond the moon, 3 Dominion scout ships entered the system. Sleek and sharp, their black hulls glided through space like predators. They scanned every rock, every signal, every sign of life. One of them found it. A faint energy reading. Weak, but familiar. "Confirmed," said the Archon pilot, his voice cold. "It's Earth tech, and it's active." From his warship, Lord Commander Zal Dorn watched the data feed. He sat in his throne-like command chair, arms crossed. "So," he whispered, "the ghost planet breathes." He stood slowly, his cape brushing the floor. "Send the message," he ordered. "Mobilize the fleet." Back on Earth, deep inside Nova Haven, alarms began to sound. Captain Jaren Miles stood in the Leviathan's bridge, watching the radar. A red dot blinked near the moon. Then another. Then 3. "They're here," said Lieutenant Arundale, voice tight. Jaren's face was calm. "Status of the Leviathan: engines are live, weapons at 40%. Shields, unstable." Jaren didn't hesitate. "Launch." The ground shook as the Leviathan rose from its chamber for the first time in 300 years. The massive hangar doors above split open. Dust and rock fell away. The engines roared, blue fire pushing the giant ship upward. People across Nova Haven gathered at screens and windows, watching their only hope rise into the sky. The Leviathan pierced the clouds and climbed into space. The Dominion scouts detected the launch instantly. "Contact," one pilot barked. "Large vessel, unknown class." Jaren's voice came through the radio, clear and sharp. "This is Captain Jaren Miles of Earth Defense. You are trespassing. Leave now." There was silence. Then laughter. "Earth is dead," came the reply. "You are a mistake." Jaren looked at Aaron. "Let's remind them who we are." Instead, the Leviathan's front cannons powered up. A deep hum shook the bridge. Then 2 bright blasts shot forward. The first scout ship exploded instantly. The second turned to flee but was hit and broke apart. The third escaped. "Let it run," Jaren said. "It'll carry our message." Hours later the council met again. Fear filled the chamber. "You attacked them," shouted Councilman Oren. "Do you understand what you've done?" "They found us," Jaren said. "If we hadn't acted, they would have sent more. They are sending more now." Oren yelled. "A fleet, an entire armada." Jaren didn't flinch. "Then we meet them in the sky." The room fell silent. For the first time in centuries, Earth had struck back. But in doing so it had awakened the fury of the Dominion. Jaren left the council chamber and returned to the Leviathan. He looked out the view window at the stars. Somewhere out there the enemy was coming. He wasn't afraid. He was ready. The stars were no longer calm. They flickered with the arrival of the Archon Dominion fleet, a swarm of black warships, stretching across the sky like a dark wave. Hundreds of them, big and small, armed with weapons powerful enough to melt moons. At the center of the fleet floated the Oblivion, the Dominion's flagship, towering, cold, and unstoppable. On its bridge, Lord Commander Zal Dorn watched Earth grow closer on the screen. "I want the planet silent," he said. "No survivors, no messages, no myths." In orbit above Earth, the Leviathan hovered alone. Inside the bridge, Captain Jaren Miles stood in front of the large forward screen, staring at the incoming fleet. His crew moved quickly, checking systems, stabilizing weapons, powering up shields. Lieutenant Arundale stepped up beside him. "We're outnumbered." "I know. No reinforcements, no second chance." "I know." Aaron hesitated. "Then what do we do?" Jaren looked at the enemy ships filling the screen. "We fight." The first wave hit like a storm. Dominion fighters rushed forward in fast packs, swarms of black dots, shooting lasers and plasma bolts. The Leviathan's outer hull flared as its shields lit up, blocking the first hits. "Return fire," Jaren ordered. The ship's cannons roared to life. Twin plasma beams tore through space, hitting 3 fighters at once. Explosions lit the black sky, but more kept coming. Inside the Leviathan, every room shook. Down in the engine core, engineers scrambled to keep the systems from overheating. Sparks flew, pipes hissed. One engine nearly overloaded. "We're pushing her too hard," someone shouted. "She's all we've got," came the reply. More Dominion cruisers joined the attack, larger, stronger, faster. The Leviathan dodged and weaved through space, surprising the enemy with its speed. Jaren used the ship's size as a shield and its old tricks as weapons. Every move was planned. Every counterstrike was precise. But even the Leviathan had limits. Another blast hit the port side. Metal tore, lights flickered. The ship began to tilt. "We've lost stabilizers on the left flank," Aaron called out. "Reroute power to starboard thrusters," Jaren said. "We'll burn the coils. We don't have time to save parts. Save people." Suddenly 3 Dominion warships closed in. They fired at once. Heavy plasma rounds aimed at the bridge. The Leviathan dove sharply, then twisted upward. Cannons roared. Missiles launched. 2 enemy ships exploded in fire. The third spun away, broken, but the Leviathan was damaged. Smoke filled parts of the ship. Systems glitched, shields flickered. Aaron turned to Jaren. "We're not going to last." Jaren nodded slowly. "Then we hit them where it hurts." He pointed to the central screen. There, behind the enemy lines, floated the Oblivion, the heart of the Dominion fleet. "Target Saldorn's ship," Jaren said. "Sir, we'd have to go straight through." "I know." Everyone paused. Then Jaren added, "Get ready. One last run." The Leviathan turned. Engines roared. It pushed forward at full speed, straight into the mouth of the enemy formation. Dominion ships fired from all sides. Shields dropped to 20%. Alarm screamed. But the Leviathan kept going. On the bridge, Jaren gripped the controls tightly. His voice was calm. "For Earth." The Leviathan tore through space like a wounded beast, fire trailing behind its engines. Smoke filled the bridge. Warning lights blinked red across every screen. Systems were failing. Captain Jaren Miles stood at the center, calm but focused. His face was streaked with dust and sweat. Behind him, his crew moved quickly, fighting to keep the ship alive. "Shields down to 12%, shouted Lieutenant Aaron Dale. "Main cannon offline. Engines overheating." Jaren looked ahead. There it was, the Oblivion. The Dominion's flagship floated in the distance, untouched, surrounded by dozens of escort ships. Its dark hull glowed with deadly power, and deep inside it, Lord Commander Zaldorn watched the Leviathan approach. He sneered. "One ship," he said to his officers. "One broken thing against an empire." He raised his hand. "Destroy it." The enemy escorts moved in. They fired from all sides. The Leviathan shook violently. One hit slammed into the right side. A large section of the outer hull peeled away. Fires broke out in the lower decks. 2 crew members were lost. In the engine room, the core was cracking. "We can't hold much longer," an engineer shouted into the comm. On the bridge, Jaren knew what had to be done. He turned to Aaron. "Prepare for overload." Aaron stared at him. "You'll burn the ship." "I know. You'll kill everyone on board." Jaren's voice was steady. "No, just me." He stepped to the weapons console and locked in the final coordinates. "Get everyone to the escape pods," he said. Aaron shook his head. "You're not doing this alone." Jaren looked at him. "That ship ends everything we are. If we don't stop it, Earth is finished." Aaron hesitated, then nodded. "I'll lead the crew out." They gripped each other's forearms. A silent goodbye. Minutes later, escape pods launched from the Leviathan's sides, shooting away into space. One by one, the crew abandoned ship. Aaron was the last to leave. Looking back through the pod's small window, Jaren stood alone on the bridge. The power core glowed behind him, pulsing like a heart ready to burst. He aimed the Leviathan straight at the Oblivion. Inside the Dominion flagship, alarms sounded. "He's charging a blast," one officer yelled. Jaren Dorn stood, confused. With what power? Then the Leviathan's final weapon, buried deep in its ancient core, lit up with pure white light. In his final moments, Jaren placed one hand on the controls. "This is for Earth," he whispered, "and for everyone they tried to erase." He pressed the command key. The Leviathan surged forward. A beam of unstoppable energy shot from its front cannon. Bright, loud and final, it pierced the Dominion escorts. It slammed into the Oblivion. And then, silence. A white flash swallowed everything. When the light faded, both ships were gone. No sound, no debris, just empty space. In the distance, escape pods floated quietly. Aaron watched from his small screen as the Leviathan disappeared. His voice broke. He did it. The crew sat in silence, staring at the stars. Jaren Miles was gone, but he had taken the heart of the Dominion with him. The silence after the battle felt heavier than the war itself. In the cold dark of space, escape pods drifted slowly toward Earth. The stars above were still, as if watching in quiet respect. The massive fleets of the Arcan Dominion were gone. No more ships, no more commands, no more threats. The Leviathan was gone too. Captain Jaren Miles had given everything, and in doing so he had saved everything. Lieutenant Arendale stood on the surface of Earth, his boots sinking into dry soil. For the first time in his life, he was above ground. No walls, no ceilings, just the open sky, gray and quiet. The air was thin, but it was real. Beside him, engineers and survivors from the Leviathan worked to rebuild communication towers. Others helped repair damaged systems in Nova Haven, which had shaken during the battle in orbit. No one smiled, but no one cried either. They all knew what had been lost, and what had been won. Inside the colony's central hall, the council gathered again. The mood was different this time. No arguments, no fear, just silence and understanding. Councilman Oren, once loud and stubborn, stood slowly. "We were wrong," he said. "We hid too long, let fear rule too long. But he gave us a future." No one spoke. They didn't need to. 3 days later, Earth sent out a signal. A simple message, broadcast across all surviving satellites, old relays and deep space channels. "Earth lives. We are still here. We will never kneel again." The message echoed through the stars. In a quiet room near the surface, Aaron sat alone. In his hands, he held Jaren's old data log. Its screen was cracked. The last message still showed. "If you're reading this, then I've done my part. Don't let them forget. Stand. Always." Aaron closed the device and looked up at the stars. They were brighter now, not because the sky had changed, but because hope had returned. Far across the galaxy, the ruins of the Dominion trembled. Without Exal Dorn, without the Oblivion, the Empire began to fall apart. Some worlds broke away. Others remembered Earth and whispered its name like a spark of fire in the cold. A forgotten world had risen, and now it stood tall.